Post 1. AITA for refusing to keep working on my cousin's house after he accused me of scamming our family? I, 36M, own a small contracting and renovation company. It's nothing huge, but I've built a good reputation over the last decade. Steady clients, word-of-mouth referrals, and a loyal crew who've stuck with me through every rough patch. I take pride in my work, and I've always said my company's biggest selling point is reliability. You hire me, you get what you paid for. No cutting corners, no surprises. Unfortunately, I broke my own rule recently. Never mix business and family. The short version is my cousin Ryan, 34M, inherited our late grandfather's old farmhouse with his sister. The place is ancient, beautiful bones, but everything else was falling apart. Ryan's sister wasn't interested in keeping it, so she sold her share to him. He wanted to turn it into a dream home for himself and his wife, but he had no real idea what that entailed. He came to me because, well, we're family. He said he wanted to renovate it the right way, but needed family pricing. Normally, I'd never take a job where someone was already talking discounts before we'd even seen the property, but my aunt, his mother, called me personally. She said it would mean a lot to her if I could help Ryan out, since he'd been struggling since losing his job last year. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We drew up a contract with a heavy family discount. I wasn't even charging my usual markup on materials, just labor cost plus wholesale. I figured it would be a good faith project and keep things smooth between us. I had no idea what kind of chaos I was walking into. From day one, Ryan treated the project like his personal playground. He constantly changed his mind mid-job. New flooring style, new bathroom layout, tearing down walls we just reinforced. When I explained that every change meant new costs and delays, he'd wave his hand and say, "You'll figure it out, man. You own the company. That's what you're good at." It got worse when he started making design choices without consulting me. He'd show up with bargain bin fixtures, paint, and random contractors he found online to help speed things up. They weren't insured, untrained, and messed up a section of electrical wiring so badly my foreman threatened to walk. I had to fire those guys myself and eat the cost to fix their mistakes because Ryan refused to pay for additional labor. Then came the money argument. Ryan had been paying in installments from the inheritance he got from Grandpa's estate. But when he realized the renovation was running over budget, thanks to his constant changes, he flipped. He accused me of overcharging and said I was profiting off family grief. I thought he was joking. But no, he doubled down. He said Grandpa would be ashamed of me for taking advantage of family just because I got lucky in business. I told him calmly that I wasn't lucky. I'd worked 12 years to build this company from nothing, and all I was charging him for was time, labor, and materials. I showed him receipts, invoices, and contracts. He didn't want to see them. He said he knew I was lying because he'd done the math, and there was no way this cost that much. His math was apparently dividing total cost by square footage like he was pricing a used car. The next morning, I found out he'd gone to my aunt, crying about how I scammed him. She called me, furious, saying I was taking food out of my cousin's mouth. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She kept saying, "He's grieving. This is Grandpa's home. Family should help family." I told her, family doesn't accuse each other of theft when they're the ones making the mess. At that point, I stopped all work on the project. I told Ryan I wouldn't continue until we sat down and agreed on a realistic budget and timeline. He blew up, texting that I'd abandoned the project and that he'd go to the family if I didn't finish what I'd started. I ignored him. 2 days later, I found out he'd been posting on Facebook about how I scammed him out of his inheritance. He even tagged my company name. I had to get our lawyer to send a warning before he took it down. Now my aunt's side of the family thinks I'm some greedy contractor who took advantage of poor, sweet Ryan. Meanwhile, my employees are sitting around waiting for me to give the all clear to go back to the site, but I don't even want to step foot there again. I know walking away will cause a permanent rift in the family, but I'm exhausted. I didn't ask for this job, and I sure as hell don't want to fight about it anymore. So, AITA for refusing to keep working on my cousin's house after he accused me of scamming our family? First comment, You're absolutely right to walk away. Never mix business and family. It always ends like this. Second comment, I mean, if you gave him a discount, why not just finish the work and keep peace in the family? It's not that deep. Update 1. Immediate fallout. I didn't expect things to explode the way they did after my last post. I thought once I stepped away and cooled off, Ryan and my aunt would eventually come to their senses. Instead, things only got worse. To clarify a few things people asked about, yes, I had a signed contract. It spelled out exactly what I was charging for, what changes would require written approval, and that the project could be paused or canceled if payments fell behind. I kept everything professional. The only family discount was that I charged no profit margin on materials and reduced labor cost by nearly 20%. Ryan has not paid the last invoice, and it's now weeks overdue. I was fine letting that slide for a bit until I learned what he'd been telling people. Apparently, Ryan went around claiming that I had stolen inheritance money. His version of events is that I demanded advance payments, then ghosted him halfway through the renovation. He's telling everyone that I left the place half demolished and ran off with the funds. It's complete nonsense, but people are believing him, especially on my aunt's side of the family. One of my uncles even texted me to say I should do the right thing and fix what you started before the lawyers get involved. I asked him what lawyers he was talking about, and he sent me a screenshot of Ryan's Facebook post where Ryan said he was looking into legal options. The post had over 50 comments, most from family or old family friends, saying things like, "That's disgusting," or "Can't believe you do that to your own cousin." For context, Ryan didn't even attend Grandpa's funeral. He showed up late to the visitation, grabbed a few photos, and left. I handled everything. Paperwork, calls, cleaning the house, sorting personal effects, even organizing the memorial slideshow. He only reappeared when it came time to talk about what's happening with the farmhouse. My aunt called me the day after that post went up. I was half expecting her to be angry, but she was worse, disappointed. She said she didn't raise me to be this cold. I tried to explain everything. The invoices, the receipts, the text messages where Ryan approved every cost increase. She kept saying, "He's just hurt. His life fell apart, and now you're making him feel worse." When I told her he was lying publicly, she said, "Just let him have his say. Family shouldn't air things out online. That's rich, considering he's the one doing it." I'll admit, it got under my skin. My reputation means a lot to me, and most of my business comes from word of mouth. Even a whisper of "he scams people" could hurt me badly. My foreman told me 2 potential clients canceled consultations after seeing Ryan's posts. Still, I refused to take it public. Instead, I had my lawyer send a cease and desist letter to Ryan warning that his statements were defamatory. Ryan called me screaming that I was threatening family. I told him that if he wants to be treated like family, he should act like it. That didn't go over well. Within hours, his wife messaged me saying I was ruining their lives and that I was heartless for abandoning a family project funded by their dead grandfather's money. I didn't respond. Here's the kicker. I found out through another cousin that Ryan's been telling people I took advantage of Grandpa before he passed, saying I manipulated him into giving me business contracts years ago. That's just cruel. Grandpa was proud of what I built. He was the one who lent me $5,000 to buy my first truck. I paid him back with interest. It's one thing to insult me, but dragging Grandpa into it crosses a line. Now my aunt keeps calling, saying I should just go finish the house and move on. She says it's not about the money and about healing the family. But I know what that means. Keep working for free while Ryan pretends he's the victim. I'm exhausted. I've got employees who depend on me, clients who actually respect me, and I'm wasting time defending myself against people who've never lifted a finger to help anyone but themselves. Still, a small part of me wonders if I should just eat the loss, finish the job quietly, and be done with it. Maybe that's the only way to stop the gossip. So, am I still the jerk for standing my ground against my cousins, over this renovation mess? First comment, he's trying to weaponize family guilt. You did everything right. Protect your company and your peace. Second comment. You could have just finished the house and avoided all this drama. Sometimes keeping the peace is worth more than being right. Update 2. Family/community pile on. If I thought the situation couldn't get worse, I was wrong. The family gossip network has been working overtime, and somehow I'm the villain in everyone's retelling. After I sent the cease and desist, Ryan doubled down. He told everyone that I threatened to sue him for trying to defend Grandpa's legacy. My aunt's friends, people I haven't spoken to in years, started messaging me things like, "You've changed, success went to your head." It's surreal. Even my own mom called to say she'd heard that things got heated and that I should just let it go for the sake of family. When I told her Ryan was lying publicly about me, she sighed and said, "He's grieving, honey." Maybe you were too harsh. I tried to stay calm, but that sentence hit hard. Grieving. Ryan hadn't even cared enough to visit Grandpa when he was sick. The man was bedbound for months, and Ryan couldn't bother to call, let alone help. I was the one who bathed him, brought groceries, and made sure he had company. But now, suddenly Ryan's the heartbroken grandson, and I'm the greedy contractor. That was the moment. The first time someone really tried to twist things in my face. Mom's voice was soft, well-meaning, but it carried that same quiet blame that Ryan's been using to guilt me. I started to defend myself, but then my throat went dry. I muttered, "Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I could have handled it better." I hated myself as soon as I said it. It felt like giving them permission to keep walking all over me. But that's what guilt does. It creeps in until you start doubting your own memories. I thought about all the times in the past when my family had pulled this same routine. Ryan breaks something, lies about it, and somehow I end up being the one to apologize because I should have been the bigger person. I guess I never stopped playing that role. Meanwhile, Ryan's still on his crusade. He's been showing up at the property with his buddies, unlicensed laborers, trying to finish the work himself. I drove past last week and saw them ripping out the drywall we'd already installed. They had no protective gear, no idea what they were doing, and were probably going to cause serious electrical damage. I texted him saying he was voiding the warranty and risking safety issues. His reply? "Don't care. I'm fixing your mistakes." 2 days later, I got an email from one of my suppliers saying Ryan had tried to place an order using my company's account. Thankfully, the supplier called me first, thinking it was odd that Ryan said he was authorized. I had to lock my account down and put a note on file barring him permanently. He's crossed from nuisance into dangerous territory. A couple of friends in the industry told me to sue him for defamation, but honestly, I'm tired. I don't want to spend months in court reliving this nonsense. I just want my name cleared and my peace back. Even my crew's starting to feel it. One of my guys told me his aunt, who knows Ryan's family, made a comment at church about how he works for a crook. The rumor mill is hitting everyone by association. So I did something I probably should have done weeks ago. I took every bit of documentation I have, contracts, invoices, texts, photos, and emails, and sent copies to my lawyer. I told him I don't want to sue unless absolutely necessary, but if Ryan keeps slandering me, I want to be ready. It's not about money anymore. It's about self-respect. I still feel torn, though. There's this old voice in my head, probably planted there by my family, whispering, "It's just family drama. You'll regret making it legal." But then I look at what Ryan's doing, and I realize I already tried giving him every benefit of the doubt. He's weaponized that goodwill against me. I think I'm finally starting to understand that being the bigger person doesn't mean letting people keep punching you. So, yeah, I'm drawing a line. For the first time in a long time, I'm not apologizing for defending myself. First comment, "You're not crazy. This is classic scapegoating. You did everything right, and they're rewriting the story because it's easier than admitting Ryan messed up." Second comment, "Man, it's family. You're gonna feel better if you just fix it and move on. No need to make enemies over a house." Update 3. Escalation. I thought cutting ties with Ryan would end the drama. I was wrong. A few weeks after I canceled the contract, I got a call from one of my regular suppliers asking if I'd switched payment systems. I told him no, and he said, "That's weird. We just got a big order for flooring and paint under your company name." My stomach dropped. Ryan had apparently gone behind my back, using my company's name and account information from earlier invoices to place orders. He must have figured out which suppliers I use and thought if he worded things carefully enough, no one would question it. And for a while, no one did. He picked up the materials under Evan Contracting and signed for them himself. The supplier froze my business credit immediately, standard procedure until they could verify what happened. I spent days on the phone untangling the mess, faxing proof that the farmhouse job had been canceled, that Ryan was not authorized, and that I'd already refunded his deposit weeks ago. While I was doing all this, Ryan was telling the family that I'd abandoned the renovation and that the whole project had fallen apart because of me. My aunt called crying, saying, "Evan, how could you do this to your cousin? He's been working day and night trying to finish what you started." That's when I realized he was still using my crew's plans, my measurements, my quotes, even my design drafts, and trying to finish the work on his own. He'd even texted one of my former employees offering cash under the table to come back to the site and finish the drywall. I finally snapped and told my aunt the truth. I forwarded her screenshots, receipts, everything showing that Ryan had been impersonating my company. She said, "I don't know what to believe anymore," which was almost worse than her not believing me at all. The next morning, I called my lawyer. He told me to document everything, the supplier issue, the impersonation, the harassment, and let him handle it. That was the first time I'd felt like I could breathe in weeks. I'd been trying so hard to fix this the family way, but family wasn't playing fair anymore. That night, I got one last text from Ryan. "You could have just helped instead of making me look bad. Grandpa would be ashamed of you." I didn't respond. I just sent everything to my lawyer. First comment: "This crossed way past family drama into fraud. You did the right thing getting legal help. He's sabotaging your livelihood." Second comment: "Family or not, using your business name like that is identity theft. I hope you press charges." Update 4, breaking point. My lawyer sent Ryan a cease and desist letter and copied my suppliers. It outlined in plain English that if Ryan placed one more order or impersonated my company again, we'd pursue criminal charges. Ryan's response? A meltdown. He showed up at a family barbecue a few days later, uninvited, and immediately started screaming across the yard. "This guy stole from Grandpa. He's a crook." He was red-faced, drunk, and waving his phone like it was evidence. Half the family was there, and everyone went dead silent. My aunt tried to calm him down, but he doubled down, yelling, "He used Grandpa's death to make himself rich." I didn't say a word. I just stood there, calm, arms crossed. A few people started filming. Eventually, my uncle, the one who used to believe Ryan, muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Funny how the only one not working is the one doing all the talking." That line hung in the air. Ryan went quiet for a second. I looked at my uncle and said, "Yeah." I finally stopped explaining myself. Then I walked away. The video made its way online within a day. Someone in the family's friend circle posted it on Facebook, and the comments were brutal. The next time I talked to my lawyer, he said it was the best thing that could have happened for my case. Ryan had publicly slandered me, on video, while I'd remained composed and factual. Ryan tried to claim it was edited, but no one bought it. Even my aunt stopped defending him after that. That was the breaking point. The next day, I had new locks put on my shop and hired a social media manager to handle the reputation cleanup. Within a week, the false reviews were flagged and removed, and my company's page was restored. The farmhouse, meanwhile, was a disaster. Ryan had gutted half the rooms trying to finish them himself, then ran out of money. The place looked like a construction graveyard. I didn't feel vindicated, just tired. First comment: "That line from your uncle hit hard. You handled it like a pro, man. Calm, factual, and done." Second comment. You didn't just protect your business. You protected your dad's reputation too. Ryan embarrassed himself all on his own. Update 5. Aftermath. Once the shouting and the viral video faded, the silence felt heavier than the chaos ever did. I didn't realize how much space this whole ordeal had been taking up in my head until it was finally gone. A few weeks after the barbecue, I got an email from one of my suppliers, the same one Ryan had conned. Turns out their legal department had decided to pursue restitution. The fraud claims were stacked neatly with all the evidence I'd provided, and since Ryan had signed for everything under my business name, they went straight after him. My lawyer called later that day and said, "You don't have to do anything. The system's handling it now." Ryan was ordered to pay restitution for the materials he'd stolen and the business credit damage he caused. Not to me directly, the funds went through the supplier, but it was still a win. His reputation took a nosedive. Apparently, the half-finished farmhouse was now the talk of the town, especially after one of the neighbors started renting it out to film students who wanted a realistic, abandoned setting. I'd laugh if it didn't feel so sad. My aunt hasn't apologized. Not once. She sent a text that said, "We all made mistakes," which I think was supposed to smooth things over, but really it just told me she still sees it as family drama and not the fraud it was. I've stopped expecting accountability from her. I saw Ryan one more time after all that. He showed up at the courthouse for a hearing about his debts, looking smaller somehow. No swagger, no yelling, just exhaustion. I didn't say anything. I just watched him walk out and drive away in his dented truck. That was closure enough. The farmhouse still sits half-finished. My aunt can't afford to fix it, and no one's willing to help after what happened. The irony is, if they'd just listened and done things properly, I could have finished that project months ago for half the cost. But some people would rather burn a bridge than admit they were wrong. My focus now is on my own company. I learned more from this mess than I did in 10 years of contracting. I've stopped giving family discounts, and every job now gets a written contract signed, sealed, and notarized, even if it's for my own mother. My team's grown too. The same coworker who told me, "You can't do good business with people who see your success as a personal insult," is now my project lead. When he saw the farmhouse drama go viral, he laughed and said, "Guess that lesson finally stuck." He's right. It did. At a recent networking event, someone made a comment that brought it all full circle. They said, "Your cousin's family must really resent your success." I just smiled and said, "They don't get to define it anymore." And that's it. That's the real lesson. You can't control who roots for you, but you can control who has access to your peace. First comment. This was so satisfying. You stayed professional even when they went low. Boundaries protect everything. Second comment. You didn't lose family. You lost parasites. Glad you came out stronger. Final update. 10 months later. It's been almost a year since the whole nightmare ended, and I can finally say life feels normal again. Peaceful, even. The company's doing better than ever. After all that chaos, I poured my energy into rebuilding my reputation and focusing on projects I actually enjoy. I was recently featured in a local business magazine. Nothing flashy, just a small piece about local entrepreneurs who bounced back. The irony isn't lost on me. The photo shoot took place in one of our finished remodels, a bright, modern farmhouse that looks nothing like the wreck my cousin left behind. I bought my own house this summer. It's not big or fancy, but it's mine. Every tile, every beam, every inch of it represents hard work and peace of mind. No ghosts of family debt hanging over it. No entitled relatives waiting to take credit. When I moved in, I remember standing in the kitchen, surrounded by boxes, thinking, this is what it feels like to be free. My aunt sold the old farmhouse a few months ago. She didn't make much. The place needed so much repair that she barely broke even. But at least it's out of the family's hands. From what I've heard, the new owners are a couple who actually respect craftsmanship and plan to restore it properly. I'm glad for that. The house deserved better than the mess we made of it. As for Ryan, he's gone quiet. He moved out of state after the restitution payments and supplier lawsuits piled up. The last I heard, he's working odd jobs, still telling people I ruined his life. Maybe in his mind I did. But the truth is, he did that himself. I just stopped letting him take me down with him. My aunt and I have minimal contact. The occasional holiday text, nothing more. It's civil, but distant. I don't hate her, and I don't wish her harm. I've just accepted that some people never stop protecting the ones who hurt them most. I still think about my grandfather sometimes. He was a builder too, not in the same sense, but he built his life on trust and hard work. I think he'd be proud of how I handled things in the end. I didn't let greed, guilt, or family politics destroy what I'd built. I learned to protect my boundaries the same way I protect my foundation lines. Level, firm, and impossible to move without tearing the whole thing down. If there's one takeaway from this entire saga, it's this. Family doesn't mean access. You can love someone and still keep them out of your business, your home, and your peace. And for me, that's enough closure. First comment, you really turned the story around. From chaos to peace. That family doesn't mean access line hit deep. Second comment, so glad you found your footing again. Protecting your boundaries is protecting your success. Your success. Your success. Your success.